Thanks for having us. So we're from, Sonya and I are from Edmonton, Alberta. That's the, just a little bit of trivia, it's the northernmost city in North America. It has a population over 1 million. It just happens to be at the same latitude as Dublin, which is kind of cool. We're like twinsies. So not a tech talk today. I'm not sure if this is a rant, a sermon, statement of the obvious, or a confession, probably all of the above, but if nothing else is a talk, a reminder to me, to all of us, that we need to align our resources to follow strategy rather than operating from the footing of allowing strategies to follow resources. I think too often organizations fall victim to allowing our existing structures and some of our traditional areas of investment and staffing allocations to put some significant barriers and restrictions on the things we want to do with our progression of repository strategies and things we talk about as being so critical to shifting the scholarly communication ecosystem. So, a case in point, how many of us here have observed the situation where well-meaning library administrators appoint well-intentioned librarians as IR managers or as scholarly communications librarians? And sometimes there's licensed repository software attached to the deal. At other times, the manager is lucky enough to be able to choose the repo software that they want to use. And with the exception of probably this crowd here, the repository manager is generally not surrounded by teams or units per se. They're kind of left to their own devices trying to fight for some time from their IT folks. And their IT folks usually are consumed by trying to work out problems such as trying to ensure that we've got authentication mechanisms for publisher paywalls or working on the ILS that struggles to index some of our repository content. So often the perception is that having a scholarly communications librarian or a repository manager, and if lucky some time from your developers or sysadmin, equates to a check mark in the done column of our institutional strategic plans where we conveniently reference things like open access, solving research data management, changing the world one baby step at a time, and et cetera, et cetera. But is this really the commitment to transformative change that we tend to talk about? So, just a reminder to all of us again, the resources deserve to follow strategy if really being strategic and looking to make tomorrow different than what we have here today. We need to look around at what we're doing, and more importantly, what we're not doing, and take a look at things we shouldn't be doing, and act to align the resources, scarce or abundant as they might be in our organizations, to help support those ends. And so, though we've got a long way to go, our library, I guess, is trying harder to take the resources should follow strategy principle to heart. Remind ourselves often that we need to put our money where our mouth is, or in most cases, position people where our strategies are pointing us to go. We've taken some concrete actions to do things like centralize our collections work from the typical widely distributed subject librarian model to something that equates to a much smaller concentrated team involving essentially 5 collection experts. So we've taken this step not just so that we can do collections work more efficiently, but so that we can better build and assess the collection as situated in today's environment. And at the same time, greatly increase the capacity amongst our larger librarian and staff cohort so that they've got the time and the incentive to better support all the things that we want to be doing, like research data management, digital scholarship, publishing, assessment, repositories, infrastructure development, and so forth. We hope that by doing so that we're creating opportunities for that transformative change that we want to meet, while at the same time paring down, avoiding investing in activities that are perpetuating and propping up the broken systems, the unsustainable practices, and things that generally no longer make sense for us to be doing and supporting. And so I'm going to turn it over to Sonya to talk a little bit about some of the things that our cross-organizational teams are trying to move forward in spaces like HYDRAte repository development.
Thanks, Geoff. I'm going to talk more in very broad and quick strokes about teams and people, and you'll see some of our people and their thoughts in these slides. These are real people and real words. Geoff has talked about resources following strategy, and I think investing in people resources is one very good way to do that. Not only does it make people happier, but broadly speaking, investing in people and investing people in projects is a really good way to gain support for a project from across all corners of the organization. Obviously, project success requires buy-in to the project from across many different units. One way I think we've perhaps inadvertently succeeded with gaining buy-in, and that goes to critical emotional support that has been through peopling our project teams with a healthy cross-section of staff that represent the many different stakeholder groups who have an interest in our projects. Some examples from our current work. Our HYDRAte North project is not just composed of our development team, it also involves to varying degrees our system administrators, repository services librarian, copyright librarian, digital preservation officer, metadata team, discovery librarian, and public services staff. Our Avalon Streaming Repository project is being co-led by our music librarian. Our research data management services are embedded directly into public services librarians' regular work expectations. And a major discovery project we embarked on last year involved a group of staff volunteers who actively tested and used the tool in beta with users for several months and provided detailed user-centered perspectives to the development work. The concern that these large, porous, and diverse teams may be too unwieldy for fast-paced project work, I think, is a legitimate one, but we found payoffs in improved communication and, more importantly, broad institutional investment in the project that makes the pain of scheduling meetings with many people worthwhile. Moving away from the model of a single person or unit having sole responsibility for a system-wide services project is helping us create more broad institutional ownership and corresponding accountability and support that's distributed across the organization. Another area where we're shifting our perspective to a resources follow strategy approach is how we view allocation of time for project work. Our commitment to HYDRAte required not just a commitment to building the repository, but also a commitment to developing a team that understood the software and was actively contributing back to the community. In this, we learned the necessity of providing room and time for people to experiment, collaborate, and fail. None of this was time spent building a repository or really building anything, but we needed that time to develop our knowledge and expertise critical to our long-term success. In closing, investing in your organization's people will always pay off, but know your strategy and be bold in putting people behind the things you fundamentally believe in, not the things you fundamentally don't believe in. Repositories need code, but they also need well-trained, highly engaged, creative people, teams from across your organization, actively working to make repositories and the scholarly communications and research ecosystem all we intended to be.